August 1947, India finally achieved freedom after nearly 200 years of British rule. People danced in the streets, flags waved proudly in the air. The dream of independence had finally become real. That while one side of the country celebrated freedom, another side was drowning in blood, fear, and loss. Because at the exact same moment India became free, millions of people were forced to leave their homes forever. Neighbors turned into enemies. Families disappeared overnight. Entire villages burned, and trains arrived filled not with passengers but with corpses. This was not just independence. This was one of the largest and most painful human migrations in the history. This was the Partition of India. Now, before before 1947, India was not divided into India and Pakistan. It was one large region called British India under the control of the British Empire. People of many religions lived together for centuries: Hindus, Muslims, Sikhs, Christians, Jains, Buddhists, and others. Cities like Lahore, Delhi, Karachi, and Calcutta had mixed populations. But during British rule, political tensions slowly increased. The British often used a strategy called divide and rule. This meant encouraging divisions between communities so people would remain divided and easier to control. At the same time, the freedom movement against British rule was becoming stronger. Leaders like Mahatma Gandhi, Jawaharlal Nehru, and Subhash Chandra Bose inspired millions to demand independence. But another political voice was also growing powerful: the All India Muslim League, led by Muhammad Ali Jinnah. Jinnah believed Muslims needed a separate nation where they would have political security and representation. This idea slowly evolved into the demand for Pakistan. Now, the idea of Pakistan. In 1940, the Muslim League passed the famous Lahore Resolution. It demanded separate states for Muslims in northwestern and eastern regions of India. At first, many people did not believe partition would actually happen. Even Mahatma Gandhi strongly opposed dividing the country. He believed Hindus and Muslims could continue living together peacefully. But political negotiations kept failing. Communal tensions grew worse during the 1940s. Riots broke out in several cities. Thousands of people died in violent clashes. One of the most shocking incidents happened in Calcutta in 1946 during Direct Action Day. Large-scale violence spread across the city, killing thousands within days. Fear and distrust between communities deepened. Meanwhile, Britain itself was exhausted after World War II. The British government wanted to leave India quickly, and soon the decision was made. British India would be divided into two nations, India and Pakistan. Now, the Radcliffe Line. One of the strangest facts in the history is this: the border between India and Pakistan was drawn by a British lawyer named Cyril Radcliffe, a man who had never visited India before. He was given only a few weeks to divide one of the largest regions on the earth. Imagine that, a single man drawing lines on a map, deciding where millions of people would belong. Villages were split, families were separated. Fields, rivers, railways, and cities were divided almost overnight. This boundary became known as the Radcliffe Line, and once the borders were announced, chaos exploded. Now, the Great Migration. What followed was one of the largest migrations in human history. Around 10 to 15 million people crossed borders within months. Hindus and Sikhs moved toward India. Muslims moved toward Pakistan. Most people left with almost nothing. Some carried small bags, some carried children on their shoulders. Some carried religious books or family photographs. Many believed they would return home in few days, but most never returned again. Refugee columns stretched for miles. People walked under extreme heat with little food or water, and violence followed everywhere. Armed mobs attacked villages, homes were looted and burned. Thousands of women were kidnapped and separated from families. Historians estimate that between several hundred thousand and 2 million people may have died during partition violence. The exact number is still unknown. Now, the trains of death. Among the most horrifying symbols of partition were the refugee trains. Trains packed with desperate families crossed the new border every day. Sometimes those trains never reached safely. Entire trains were attacked. In some cases, trains arrived at stations carrying only dead bodies, no survivors. People waiting for loved ones at stations would instead witness unimaginable horror. These trains became terrifying symbols of hatred and human suffering. Even today, survivors remember the sound of trains during partition with fear. While violence spread across the subcontinent, Mahatma Gandhi traveled from place to place trying to stop bloodshed. He visited drought-affected areas, he met refugees, he fasted for peace. Unlike many political leaders celebrating independence in Delhi, Gandhi spent much of August 1947 calming the violence in Bengal. He believed freedom meant nothing if people killed each other in hatred. Many people still consider his efforts one of the few lights during partition's darkness. But even Gandhi could not stop the tragedy completely. On August 14, 1947, Pakistan became independent. And on August 15, 1947, India became independent. Jawaharlal Nehru delivered his famous speech, "At the stroke of the midnight hour, when the world sleeps, India will awake to life and freedom." For millions, it was a moment of hope, but for millions of others, it was a moment of heartbreak. Freedom and tragedy arrived together. After partition, both India and Pakistan faced enormous challenges. Millions of refugees needed homes, jobs, food, and safety. Entire neighborhoods changed forever. Cities like Lahore and Karachi lost large Hindu and Sikh populations. Cities like Delhi received huge numbers of refugees from Pakistan. The emotional scars remained deep. Families were divided across borders permanently. Many people never saw their childhood homes again. Partition also shaped future conflicts between India and Pakistan, including wars and disputes over regions like Kashmir. Even today, memories of partition continue through stories passed down by survivors and families. But amid the violence, there were also stories of courage and humanity. Some families protected neighbors from other religions. Some villagers hid strangers in their homes to save them. Some risked their own lives to help children cross borders safely. These stories remind us that even in humanity's darkest moments, kindness can still survive. The partition of India was not just about politics or borders. It was about ordinary people. People who lost homes, people who lost families, people who lost entire worlds overnight. It changed South Asia forever. And even after decades, its memories still live in songs, photographs, letters, and silence. History often remembers dates and leaders. But behind every historical event are humans' lives. And perhaps the greatest lesson of partition is this: when hatred grows stronger than humanity, everyone loses. If you found this documentary meaningful, subscribe for more deep and true historical stories from Indian and world history, because history is not just the past, it explains the present.